Okay guys, I know this is a long time in the making. Finally bringing you, after many teasers, many shorts, about this Shadowdancer sword that I'm going to be his custom Shadowdancer sword. This is going to be finally a full review, and when I mean full, I mean a really full detailed review of this custom Shadowdancer sword that has been made possible from Swordist.com. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this is going to be a very detailed and long review. It was built on Swordist's website, on probably the only custom builder for Shadowdancer. It's a high quality premium sword, and Shadowdancer is pretty much one of the most sought after companies right now that are people very curious about as far as their quality, whether it's good, whether it's bad. You hear good, you hear bad. So I have in my hands finally a custom build right from them. That is Swordist.com site. So it's this sword, guys. This is called the Riku Umi Land and Sea Katana. I named it after I chose the build of this sword. It ended up being a very premium quality sword. It could go higher, it could go lower. It's definitely something I want to spend time with on. I want to show you my experience as far as the ordering process, how it came after the ordering process in terms of fit and finish, how it felt in the hand, my overall appearance of it, how it cut mostly, and how it performed after the cutting. So guys, little disclosure, this will be a very long review. I will put chapters in where you can navigate back and forth around. You can go back and forth on the video. If you want to navigate to certain parts of the video, I will put named chapters in there for you, but I want to try to give you as much detail as possible because this video has been a long time in the making. So the way I want to start this off, guys, we're going to go to the ordering process. I want to take you step by step in their custom builder as it is now on their site, which is pretty damn cool, and do kind of a mock order of the pieces that I put into the Shadowdancer sword. All right, guys, so this is Swordist's website. It's actually, when I did the order on there with this sword, it was pre-builder, so they didn't have this like really nice looking site that they have now. So there's actually more options that are available on their site now that their builder is done than I even had when I chose the sword. So you could probably even enhance it even further, which I'll get to section by section. First, treated to a custom page where you have your different options of swords that you can choose from, and they have a variety of swords. I've spoken about this in the past. You have a variety of Japanese swords, variety of European style weaponry, and I guess the list is kind of going up from there. So it's a really well done site, a lot of variety here, and a lot of really great brands, great popular brands that we like to shop for, all under one roof. And it's kind of a cool site. You definitely need to check it out. A lot of Kai Siberia stuff, a lot of good quality stuff from Citadel, Shadowdancer, Zisei, and the list goes on and on. But let's get going doing a custom katana. So here is your custom katana builder that you treated to. So basically it says you customize, we forge it. So we go to start building. You have 3 different brands that you can that they offer for custom building. One is Hanban Forge, Shadowdancer, and Zisei swords. Zisei is obviously in the price range of $2,300 to $7,500. Is probably going to be the most expensive on their side in terms of doing a custom build. The cheapest being the $200 to $850 Hanban Forge, which I'm really happy that they have that because that's a good mid-range quality sword, and their Hanban Forge does some really nice builds. People have been really happy with them. But we are going to be isolating out now Shadowdancer, which is a price range of around $490 to around $3,000. I didn't go up to $3,000, but it goes to show you that you can go that high if you really get all the bells and whistles thrown into this sword. Production time is about 1 to 3 months, which is pretty fair. I waited somewhere around 3 to 4 months or something like that, so it's depending on the complexity and what you're building, it takes longer or shorter. And you have 27 customizable parts, which is pretty cool. So we go to build now here. And again, I have all of my options here on the side, and I'm going to read off them back and forth. The first thing we have to pick is steel type. Now, the blade steel type that I want to choose was S5. So your S5 steel, now you have your 1045, you have your spring steels, your T8, your 1095, tried and true, your wood steel, which is like the mahogany type of steel, your S7, S5's Damascus, Crucible, LD, just, a lot of steel types. So we are going to go with the S5, which brings it around $300 so far for the S5 steel. So I wanted to go with S5 because I really wanted to see durability-wise how they make their S5 and how they produce them and how it handles the edge retention, how it handles any bends or rolls, the durability of it, the just everything that surrounds the mystery behind S5 and how strong this freaking steel is on a katana blade. So moving moving on from there, guys, we have the blade length of the Nagasa, the blade length, okay? Now, production time is around, if you choose different types of blade lengths other than the standard, it'll increase the production time 4 to 6 weeks. So I went with a blade length of about 28 to 28.5, so it's somewhere around like the 29. Actually, it's right here. I think it was 28.5 to 29. So I went a little bit above standard. So, and it's an extra 200 because I wanted to get close to that 29 inch because I'm building it for myself, and I wanted to have something that I'm comfortable with, and I'm comfortable with that 28.5, 29 inch blade. So now we go forward, and the next section here is going to be the cutting edge, the hot cutting edge. We went with without Niku. We went with sharpened without Niku. Niku is a little bit more expensive. It's more of a rounded type of edge, the Niku, and it's more time consuming. They say it's a little bit more durable in terms of the Niku. You can look it up if you want more information about it, but we went with a sharpened blade, and it was a damn sharpened blade, I gotta tell you, without the Niku. I wasn't worried too much about the Niku, only because it is S5 and it is supposed to be a more durable steel, so I didn't think it wasn't really necessary to go with the Niku on the S5. So we move on. So now we got blade construction. The blade construction is a Maru blade construction because it is S5, and we are basically not doing any Sanmai or Corvus, no folded or laminated, because the nature of S5 is it's a true hardened blade without hormone. So Maru is obviously where we're going, and that's where what you would select. And the good thing is everything is grayed out in terms of things that you shouldn't select. So the site does help you depending on what you choose beforehand. If you're able to choose Sanmai, you're not able to choose Sanmai and Corvus, you have to choose Maru because it is an S5 blade. So it's a very well thought out system in terms of basically helping you pick the right things that fit together in the right way. So we're at 500. So now we move on from there. Now we're going to the blade shape. Now this is where I wanted to really get a hand on picking my Shobuzakuri. I love the Shobuzakuri blade shape, the geometric. You don't see Shobuzakuri a lot. I love that fine, no lines, straight edge type of blade without the Yokote line, without the anything that obstructs the cutting. It's a very smooth, butter smooth kind of cut. And here is a Shobuzakuri, and that's about $100 for that. You obviously have your standard Shinogi, you have your Hirazakuri, and you have the Nagamaki Zakuri. So, you know, a couple different blade shapes there. So now we're at around 600. Bohi. I love Bohi on my blades. The sound of the switching sound to know if your edge alignment is on. And I just love the look of a Bohi. And personally, if I had to choose something, I would always choose double Bohi. And I was really curious to see how Shadowdancer executed the double Bohi, which is an additional $100. And you have your other options here that are all available to you on this S5 blade. Blade tip. Okay, so the blade tip is going to be on this blade is, let me see if I have here, Kote. Okay, so the blade tip is a Chukasaki, which is like a kind of a medium type of blade. It's a little bit longer. It looks like a Okasaki to me, but that's just a Shobuzakuri in terms of how the point is on a Shobuzakuri, but it is labeled as a Chukasaki under my page with this particular build. The Okasaki, if I was to choose it, was going to be about $100 more, and has a little bit even more of an extended type of tip. Obviously, you see here it's grayed out. The Yokote line is not possible, and it's a Shobuzakuri that does not have a Yokote line. That's just the nature of it. We obviously have to go with no hormone. You can select the other ones. I think that you may have an error if you do select the other ones, but basically you can select an edged hormone. I don't think you could actually select anything else other than that, other than the etched hormone. I didn't choose to go with an etched hormone. I chose to go with no hormone. I don't like that acid etch type of fake hormone. If it's a real heat-tempered, clay-tempered blade, I want to have a real hormone. So we went with a no hormone with the S5. Now, the blade polish is a big thing on this sword. Now, what we went with on the blade polish, they recommended going with the optimized mirror polishing, which for an additional $160. And I wanted to see basically how their work is in terms of an optimized mirror polish. So optimized means it's not a standard mirror polish, it's an optimized. A lot more work involved, more time spent in making it a very lustrous mirror polish, and that's exactly what it is. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know what a great job they did with the mirror polish. So we'll talk about that when it's time, but this is the optimized mirror polish for an extra 160. I chose to go without May. I didn't want to make it a super expensive sword. I think after taking it apart, I would like to see the May. I may choose that next time, but it's an additional $35. But on my build right now, it's without May. Suka linked, depending on you guys. I went with 11 inches. 11 inches is basically a little bit over standard. The standard is around 10 inch. I don't like a 10 inch. I like 11 inches as far as a Suka. That just fits my hands. It fits my style of cutting, and 11 inches kind of really, it's my sweet spot. It kind of works for me. You know, the 29-inch blade, 11-inch Suka works for me. 12 inches is okay, but it's just a little bit, you know, too long basically as far as the no-toe and things like that. So 11 inches is my personal sweet spot, and that's what I chose. Additional 20, we move on. Suka shape, I personally really love the Rico shape, that hourglass type of shape here. You can go with the Hayachi where it basically dips right over here. I have that on one of my other swords, which is also really nice curvature of the handle, comfortable in the hand. Or you could go with the Imagota, which is a standard type of curvature of the handle of the ska. I went with the hourglass. I just felt like it fits really good in the hand. I love how it kind of flares out and then it flares in on the middle, and it just fits my hands really well. And I like the look of that Rico shape. So we went with the Rico shape. Then we went with the wrapping style. The wrapping style, the Eco, we went with the leather. Well, first we went with the actual wrapping material. We went with the premium black leather. I wanted to see how they did their premium leather, and it was very good. It's definitely a premium leather in the hand. So we went with that. That's an additional $80. And the wrapping style. The wrapping style, I went with the Katate. I like that battle style type of look. I like having the Manuki in the middle and not on the sides under my knuckles or under my fingers, you know, depending on which side they put it on. I just feel that there's no abstractions. I feel like you put your hands where they are, and it's the best grip I can get on the Suka with my fingers right here without having the Manuki on your palm or on your fingers. So I like the look of it, and with the Rico shape, it turned out really nice. Hishigami is the paper wedges that really bring it to the next level of tightness. I went all the way with their Hishigami Pro. It's a custom sword. They're giving one to me. I want to see the best they have to offer in terms of the tightness of their Ito, in terms of the wrap, and how comfortable and solid it is. So we went the Hishigami Pro, and we'll see how that turned out later on. So we're at 1020, so we're over 1,000 now. The race skin, the Samigawa, okay, underneath, I went with the straight white. It just kind of fit the color scheme or everything pretty well, especially because I have that, you know, rich, dark black Ito. I wanted the white to stick out, but I think I actually, now looking back, I think the black on black would have been pretty nice, but I just love the look. I love the look of it now. So the white is what I went with. Now the race skin wrap style, it's really cool that they offer to give you a full wrapped Suka, a full wrapped ska. Not many companies basically offer that, and the fact that they did it and it's still not too inflated and still able to do the Rico shape, I think it was pretty cool. They did a really nice job, so I chose to go with the full wrap. Whenever that option's available to me, I like to take advantage of it because I love a full wrapped Suka. A lot of options here, guys. You're even able to select if you want Emperor nodes. So I went with normal Emperor nodes because I wanted to have, you know, I didn't want it to be completely filled with Emperor nodes, large nodules. I went with normal to have a couple of them here and there on the top, and they did a really nice job. It's an extra $100 if you want no Emperor nodes at all. There's a $0 increase, and if you want large Emperor nodes, you go with the 200, and that's double, and that's a lot of work, a lot higher quality race skins to go with those Emperor nodes, and there's a little different way of them to wrap them because the nodules are so big. So we went with normal, kind of right in the middle, and now we're at 1220 at this point. Handguard or the Suba, we went with a brass Suba, and I think if I look at my chart here, I went with the MDT25 here, okay? And this is kind of that ocean tsunami type of theme, and that's the next part rather where I show you why I named it what I did. This is kind of like an ocean tsunami or a sea type of thing, you know, with the land and sea name that I gave to it on the Suba, and I love how this also came out. obviously you have some other options available, and you see some are not pictured because they're still updating. They're still updating their site with some pictures. So I guess it's a work in progress, but there's a lot of pretty subas that they have available on this Shadowdancer sword. You have different options, obviously, if you go with a Hanban Forge build or a Zisei build. This is just what's available right now with a Shadowdancer build. So we went with the NDT25, which is an antique brass. Now the Menuki, we went with the Kubra Nickel. It's Kubra Nickel. I don't know if the image is on there. It's NG15 is what I chose. And I'm not sure if the image is actually there. Let's find the MG15, which is right here. Okay, so here's the Dragonfly, which is black brass. And again, I like the Dragonfly because, again, land and sea, a Dragonfly can gravitate between ponds or bodies of water and land. So that's why I also chose the MG15, which are the Dragonflies, and it's a really nice looking Menuki, really nicely fit, and it looks great right in the middle of that Rico shape ska. Now the Fuchikasha, we want the FK02, which is black brass. It's similar to the Menuki, so again we're looking for FK02, which is probably all the way up here. Okay, here's the FK02. Again, this is now like branches with flowers on them. You find that on land, and I like that theme of it. I like how it just fits the whole motif of the black leather, with the contrast of the white and the contrast of the Suba and the Menuki. It just came together so nicely. Went with the FK02, and it looks great. Habaki, we went with the Yoku Yashuri Copper. It says here it's limited only for Zisei build, but included in Shadowdancer for now. May not be included later, I'm not sure, but it might be limited to Zisei in the future. It may be, but for now, it is available. It's a Yoko Yushuri, which I believe is right here. It's a copper Yoku Yoshuri. Excuse my pronunciation. That's an extra $100. Nice copper Habaki, and that's what I went with. A little bit different than what you normally see, which was nice. And now we're at around $1,600. We went with the copper Seppas, which is additional $10 to stick with the whole copper theme of the Habaki, and everything just kind of mesh well. Nice looking copper Seppas as well with the ridges around. Now we're going to go with the Scabber. Now this is where you could get a little bit more expensive. The Saya, I picked the FSY15 Yurishi Imitation is the Saya I went with, and that is the FSY15. This is a little bit of a better Saya than the other ones, and that's this one here, and I love the freaking look of it. It's like kind of like a double varnished Saya. It's their better ones, and they look fabulous. We went with the Japanese Sageo, and we went the JR Golden. Okay, that's an extra $58 because it is actual Japanese Sageo, and if you hold it and you feel it, you know it's definitely a much better quality Sageo than you see on the normal Chinese market. So it's a Japanese rayon, and it looks good, feels good, and it just it's a great addition to this build. Okay, so we're around $1748 right now. I think they actually give you a discount on their site, but I'm kind of over already. Then you have upgrades, guys. So I believe they gave me bullhorn upgrades, so we'll add that in. But the Buffalo bullhorn is in there. You have it on the Koiguchi. It says it on their site that that's what's available for the price. So that's pretty much what we're going with. For the price on the page that has my sword, it says that it does have horn parts. So we're added in, and it's around $40, but it's good that they at least give you the option on a custom build if you want to add Buffalo horn parts. And for $40 after you're spending money on the sword, I think it's definitely worth it to go with the Buffalo. So guys, now we're getting to the point where we go to order summary, and which is cool here. You have an option of basically seeing all of your selections here. There are other options, I think, if you go in further to basically get like a customized Saya, where they really customize the Saya to the blade. I don't think there was much of a need to do that because it was a really good fit as it is, but you can spend more money if you want to get a custom Saya or a custom Suka, custom Ska, you know, in terms of the wood and stuff like that. And that can bring the price a little bit higher. But right now we're at with the options I chose here, the upgrades, the cordage, everything that goes into this order. It's at around $17.88. I believe on their site it's a little bit cheaper. So we'll add that to the cart. Okay, and then basically you're here and you have the configuration, you have the price, free shipping, which is cool, and yeah, and you're ready basically to proceed to check out, and it'll take about 4 months, 3 to 4 months probably to produce, and that's pretty much what you got there. Okay guys, so if you go to my site, where my page, the Land and Sea S5 Steel Shobu Katana with my name on it, it comes in at around $1673, whereas here it's around $1788. So they're actually giving you a pretty good, you know, a little bit more of a discount if you chose this particular sword that I did the build on my page. It's a little cheaper than if you had to build it from scratch yourself. So you can get this sword as is with this configuration that I told you about for around $1673, a little bit of a discount from $1788. All right, guys, so in this section, we're going to be talking about fit and finish. So it was all in great and grand. How the ordering process was great. I was able to, you know, have all these options and put together a really nice looking sword on paper. But beyond paper, in production and coming into my hands, how is the build of this sword from concept to design to production and in your hands? First things first, guys, I did take it apart. I wanted to see basically how the guts, how it looks on the inside. Now, for the most part, everything came apart fairly easily. Everything fit pretty good. Now, that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Everything fit kind of like a glove. It wasn't too much tension taking everything apart. So there was not much hammering or anything I had to do to really take it apart. The tang itself looks great. It's very clean. The grinding lines are there. It's not super duper the best I've ever seen. I don't know if you've seen my Huawei video in the past. Huawei does pretty much in terms of production market, does one of the best Nakagos I've ever seen in terms of the cleanliness and the grinding lines. Is just wonderful. But this is definitely good. It's no slouch. It's definitely a good job. No May signature as I chose. Wish I would have chosen it. The shape of it is good. The grinding lines are good. Not much rust or any rust at all, so everything is pretty clean. I like how the bohi kind of just terminates a little bit further than the HABAKI. It looks good. I like how it looks. The pieces, when you hold them in your hands, you can tell they're good quality. Nice, sizable Suba, nice weight to it, nice solid feel to the seppas and everything around it. The Fuchi, everything fits well. You can see also it's a full wrap Samegawa. When you take it apart, you know that's exactly what they did. Pretty clean on approach, not the best, but a pretty clean approach on it. Looks good. The Fuchi fits pretty good, and the Kashida is very, very tight. Knot is very, very tight. Now, having a good fit where there's not much tension is a good thing, where everything kind of fits. The HABAKI fits, you don't have to force it too much, but not having enough friction means that you may have a problem with the sword basically when you're using it and it's impacting on targets, and being it's an S5, you want to impact it on higher tension targets. You are going to get some looseness, and that's exactly what happened basically on the sword itself. Initially, when I first started cutting pumpkins and water bottles, things like that, I noticed that basically there was a lot of play on the Suba and HABAKI. What I had to do is I had to kind of go in here. I don't know if you could see it. It's like I put it like a paper, so like a temporary like paper in between the Seppa and the Suba, just to kind of stop it from wiggling too much. And it kind of did, but after I cut tatami afterwards, there is a little bit of play, not much, not as much as before. I definitely corrected the problem with the paper. I know I could work on it a little bit more, but just to be noticed that it didn't start with that much friction in terms of the put together. So when you did take it apart and put it back together again and did use it, the vibrations did cause a little bit of dislodging of the Suba. My only remedy would be is maybe in a build like this, maybe give it more of a tension type of fit of the HABAKI on the blade and the NAGASA. The Suba and also the Seppas have more of a tension fit, so you eliminate that problem of having, a loose Suba when you're doing just, a couple different cutting sections. Other than that, it's perfectly great fit and finish. I love how it was. Very easy to take apart, put back together. HABAKI fits very tightly on the Nagasa. Everything just fits and works together in one unibody type of system very, very well. Right off the bat, guys, I'm going to just tell you, this is a premium sword. I mean, so a sword within the $1,700 price point is not super duper crazy high, but it's definitely higher than your standard sword on the market. So it's definitely a higher premium quality type of sword that's coming to you from Shadowdancer. But let's go with all the basically bits and bobs, fits and finish, and let's see what kind of job they did from basically the design up into execution. So let's talk about our Rico shape type of suka or ska. Now you can see it is a really good quality suka. You can tell, listen, I could tell as soon as I put this in my hand for the first time, this was done with great quality. The diamonds are fairly even. Not perfect, but fairly even to the point where there's not really much to complain about. It's a very clean execution. I love the Rico shape. Even if it's a full wrap, it's not too thick or bulgy. They did a really nice job giving it a full wrap and a Hishigami Pro, and to have this nice thin profile that's not too bulgy or bulking out anywhere. I think it's a very, very clean looking Rico shaped suka, considering you have Hishigami and you have a full wrap Samigawa. I tip my hat to them. They did a really nice job. I've chosen these options before on other swords, and it was bulky. It wasn't even here and there. This is a very clean, beautiful execution of the shape of this Rico shape, and I love the full wrap and the Hishigami, making this extremely tight. Leather is generally very tight if done well, but this is extremely, extremely tight. You can barely move anything a millimeter. And this is after use. After use, it looks like it didn't even get used. And I handled it, gripped it very hardly, doing all the cutting that I did with this. This is all after cutting, and absolutely no knots or nothing moved, even a millimeter. Knot is great. Kasha is great. Fuchi is great. Everything is completely in perfect shape as it was right out of the box. So great, great job on the Tsukamaki. I love the Emperor nodes here on the top near the Kashida. You have the regular, all the other nodes and normal nodes, but in really good quality Samigawa, premium quality stuff here, guys. I love the wrap of the leather, the premium leather Ito. I love the Kashida here. The transitions of the Kashida and the Ito are pretty perfect. I mean, comes to as close as perfect as possible. I love the Shidomes around the knot, which are cool, and that also goes to a quality type of piece. And I love basically just the basic quality of the Kashida. You know, it's got the vines and flowers. You can see with these extreme close-ups how beautifully detailed this Kashida, Fuchi Kashida is. It's a very, very good pieces, good quality. Nice execution. Obviously, it's not handmade from scratch. It's a molded piece, but in terms of a molded piece, very good quality, not muddy, good details, even with these extreme close-ups that I'm giving you guys right now. Even with the Fuchi and the Ito, no hot spots, nothing that basically your fingers basically hit, and no sharp edges. It's just a perfectly good execution, as perfect as they can possibly get to it without going crazy with the higher expensive swords. So for the price, they did a really nice job in terms of the Tsukamaki, the quality of the premium leather, the diamonds, the Emperor nodes, the quality of also the Manuki in the middle, very tight, doesn't move whatsoever, even with a lot of usage. This thing looks like it didn't even get used. Perfectly comfortable in the hand. It was a pleasure to hold and swing. It was just, it's a well-made suka. I don't know what else to say. This is premium quality, very well made, great execution, exactly what I was looking for when I put the order in for this suka. Now the Suba is where the C part of it comes, guys. The Suba, again, the brass iron Suba. It's a really, really beautiful looking Suba. I like the ocean details. You can see with the extreme close-ups, you can see the lines of the waves. I like the brass and black tones that really match the whole motif of the rest of the sword. Everything blends extremely well together with the Fuchi and the Kashida. I have to say that I think I chose a really nice motif that everything kind of matches really well together. I was very happy to give it that land and seed name, basically, because you have a lot of elements of that. So I like the Supa. It was solid, no hot spots, no sharp edges. It just looks great. I love the size of it. I love the dimensions of it. I'm just very pleased with the detail of the castings that Shadowdancer is offering, and then what they executed for me in hand. And if you look at the seppas really stand out in terms of the copper seppas with the ridges and the lines. They stand out and they really, really look well. A nice background of the copper with the black in the background and the brass elements. It looks great. It's a really visually very, very, very pleasing looking sword altogether. Now, before we get to the Habaki, we have to talk about the saya, guys. Now, this is a double varnish type of saya. It's one of their more expensive type of sayas. You can choose this, basically. It is part of the build. I call this the land part of it too, because it looks like elements of land, the black and the brown and things like that. It's got a really lustrous feel to it. No ripples or anything like that I can see. Nothing that really disturbs, you know, the varnish too much. They did a really nice job on the execution. Supposedly you have bullhorn and a kojiri at the end, and you have bullhorn also at the kashira. That's what's available on the build of the sword on my page. And also the korigata here, which I'm not sure if it's bullhorn or not. It may be. Something that I have to talk about right away, guys. The shidodomes that had always been basically a problem I have when they have the shidodomes that are not glued in and they're dangling side to side and they scratch the saya. These shidodomes are glued in, and they're glued in really well. You can't take them out. And basically when I untied the sageo, no imprints, which means I think they kind of let the saya dry enough where before they tied the sageo knot on it, and it was kind of a loosely tied sageo knot. It wasn't, you know, super tight, but it was enough where you have a nice presentation to it. Sageo, like I said, high quality Japanese sageo, guys. This is not shoelace material, man. This is probably some of the best quality sageo you're gonna find here in the States. Aside from going to Japan and picking it out yourself, this is a Japanese rayon type of sageo. Very good quality. A practitioner would absolutely love this, and it fits really well at the belt, and it feels good. It looks good. It's got great texture to it, and just gives it a nice overall look to the sword. I always looked forward to having a habaki that's a little bit different than norm or the 5 and dime. You know, it's available on all swords these days. This is a really great looking habaki. I love that type of antique type of feel to it. I love the rigid lines. I love the fit of the copper habaki on the blade, kind of hugging it pretty well. I've seen it execute a little bit better with the copper habakis on other swords, but this is, you know, a pretty nice job. There's not really much to complain about in terms of the fit and finish on this sword. Sometimes you just have to look at the overall motif of it and the overall feeling you get from it and know that, listen, it's very well done. Could it have been better on certain parts? Yes, of course. It could always be better. I've seen it done better on copper habakis on other swords, but this is a good, tightly fit one. Fits in the NAGASA well, probably too well. More friction would have been appreciated so there's no movement. But right now there is no movement just with the paper that I put in there. Big improvement in terms of the fit of the habaki to the seppa to the suba. Everything fits well, and it just, even after doing additional cutting with it, that simple paper I put in there definitely improved it a lot. Listen, Shobuzakuri, it looks like a Okasaki. It's got a really nice, beautiful tip. No Yokote line, and the double bohi executed excellently on both sides. Termination looks pretty even on both sides. Love the look and the feel and the sound of the double bohi. I like how the bohi also terminates underneath the habaki into the NAGASA. This is definitely a warrior's blade, guys. I mean, S5, it's a durable ass blade. Did a lot of cutting with this sword already, and it's a tough one, man. This S5 is some tough steel. If I wanted to destroy it, obviously I could. It's not where I was gearing towards. I was gearing towards just doing some normal cutting with it, and even maybe some bad cuts here and there. Absolutely no bends or rolls or chips whatsoever. It just felt so good in the hand. It cut like butter. I mean, this is a great looking blade. We'll get to the cutting more later, but you look at how that optimized mirror polish is expertly done. Very good execution. Is it absolutely perfect? No. You do see some blemishes here and there. I tried to keep it as shiny as possible. It's definitely a fingerprint magnet, even to dirt and things like that. But when it is clean, it's a beautiful execution. The mirror really just bounces light like a madman. Great execution, great edge geometric in terms of the sharpness level of this sword, the way it came out of the box. This is the sharpest S5 I've ever held in my hand. The S5 sharpness of this blade out of the box is exceptional. And the great thing about, even after the cutting, which I'll show you later, it's extremely sharp as it was out of the box. So that would tell me that the S5 edge retention, the way they heat tempered it, sharpness level of this did not diminish a bit. Very sharp, this S5 blade. Durable and sharp. I mean, you got a winning combination there. You got basically something as strong and durable as this S5 blade, and as sharp as it is, and be able to keep that edge retention as long as it has so far. This is definitely what I would call a warrior's blade, and it looks pretty damn good too, I gotta say. Love the look of it. Very nice execution on the koiguchi of this sword. You see the bullhorn there, and you see the koiguchi, really clean. Not the cleanest or the best shape I've ever seen, but definitely a good looking quality type of koiguchi, which you expect to see on a sword of this type of price range. Now, the good thing about this sword is as well, that I noticed right out of the box, and even after some use and no-toe and things like that, there's no rattle, no wiggle. Very, very little bit of a rumble, but for the most part, it's got a very good fit, the HABAKI rather, into the saya. Little thumb push, and basically you're able to kind of pop this out. It glides like it's almost on rails, not the best, but it's almost on rails. It's got a great fit and finish, and if you are a practitioner doing some no-toe, I think you're gonna be really, really happy using this. All right, guys, I don't just tell you how good the sword is. I actually use the sword, and I show you as much as I possibly can, according to my ability, how good the sword feels in the hand and how great it cuts. And I gotta say right off the bat, guys, the sword is performed and is performing just as good as I expected it to perform in the price range that it's in the quality of the build that I got, and the options that I chose in terms of the S5, the Shobuzukuri. It felt absolutely marvelous in the hand. Probably one of the best feeling swords I had in my hand, because I customized it to my length in terms of the Suka, the blade length, and the S5 and the Shobu. It just cut like butter. Now you see, guys, cutting through the bottles, this is probably one of the most prolific, best bottle cutters I've had in the many swords that I reviewed. This really it was gliding through the water bottles like they weren't even there. Very evenly cut, butter smooth in terms of the cut. That has to do with the Shobuzukuri. Is just a great geometric for cutting. No abstraction, no Yokote line, nothing that basically would abstract it from cutting smoothly. And I felt total control with it, and it just cut. It cut magnificently. It really did. I mean, really effortlessly. No matter if I did one-handed, two-handed, rear grip, whatever grip I used, I felt really good control in the cuts, and the sharpness level was extreme on this blade, and it stayed that way throughout the entire cutting sequence of materials that I cut through. So it did a really, really good job with all the water bottle cuts. And it was definitely a lot of fun to do it too. I felt absolute control in the start and stop, in having the sword and the tip go where I wanted to go. It just felt wonderful in the hand. The Suka felt great, the fit of the handle felt great, the length, everything about it. It was a good feeling sword. Very, very well made. Pumpkin cuts are not a joke, guys. It's not easy to cut into pumpkins. You got to have really good form, really good, solid edge alignment throughout the entire cut. And it could damage and bend the sword, depending on how you hit the pumpkin and the solidity of it. You could get some roll or bends on the sword, or even some chips, depending on where you're cutting into the pumpkin. But absolutely nothing. I mean, this thing handled the pumpkin well. When I had good execution, it cut through really well. It sliced like it did with the water bottles. It was really a joy to cut with this sword. It really is, regardless of the materials I'm cutting with it. Did a good job with that. And I also tried to cut into some vines there, some hardwood vines, and obviously I didn't think I would have any issue or any damage or any bends or rolls or anything, any issues cutting to the hardwood vines, and it did well with that. Finally, guys, I did tatami. Now, these are new tatami rolls that I'm trying out for the first time. They're actually really good OMOTE tatami. I've had quality ones like this in the past. These are another supplier that had given me these tatami mats to try out. So I'm really happy with them. I got a 20 roll, so I have plenty of tatami to cut for some upcoming reviews. But they soak the water well. Great length, 39 inches, great length compared to some mini Katana ones that I had before. Really big difference in the quality of this tatami mat. But they did well. Listen, it's a great tatami cutter. It's not just a water bottle cutter. It's a great tatami cutter. The S5 is definitely the type of steel that you want to use to cut into all types of materials. This is definitely a warrior's blade. So guys, I'm at the point of the video where I can tell you my experience with the sword overall, and if I can recommend it basically for the price of admission as far as getting into this sword. And the simple answer, I think, is going to be yes. Now, there are some caveats there. The overall experience that I've had with dealing with the sword builder, with dealing with swordist.com, I had a pleasant experience basically going through the ordering process, going through the site. Now, the wait time, 4 months is pretty reasonable according to the type of build and the price that you're paying for the sword. You want to make sure they take their time in terms of their polishing work and the put together, and they did a great job with the fit and finish of it. When it got into my hands, the fit and finish was very good. The only caveat is basically the tension fit was a little too good. Other than that, with a little bit of a fix, I fixed the problem with not an issue, but that's something maybe they should address on future renditions of this sword if you happen to want to order it. I was very happy with how the color motif, everything came out, how just the overall look, aesthetic look of the blade, and the finishing pieces were excellent. Just really worked out well, and I love that whole land and sea name that I put to it because it's very fitting to the sword and how it's built. The blade itself, guys, like I said, this is probably the third time saying it, it is a warrior blade. This S5 blade made from Shadowdancer, edge retention is phenomenal. It's razor sharp still out of the box. As you can see, very, very well put together sword and a very good S5 blade. I strongly recommend, if you wanted a good blade that you're going to be doing a lot of cutting with, that looks good and it's going to handle everything you throw at it, I strongly recommend an S5 blade as far as a good steel option today, if you can afford it, to go with as far as handling everything you throw at it. And Shadowdancer really nailed it. They did a great job with the heat tempering. The edge retention is still great. Everything about the blade so far I've seen is very good. Is it worth it? Guys, at around a little over $1,600 is the asking price, and you can find I'll leave a direct link on my page where you can find the product on my product page there on Swordist.com website. If you could afford to spend that much on a sword, I would say it's definitely worth it. You are getting a very good premium quality sword from Shadowdancer for a pretty good price. You could spend a lot more on Z-Say, you could spend a lot less for Shadowdancer, but if you're looking for that type of build with good steel, good finish, and a great overall good quality motif, and a great, importantly, a very great cutting sword, a really good cutting sword, and a great practitioner sword that you can use for practicing, that's comfortable, lively, and light in the hand, this is definitely the sword for you that can pretty much cross all your T's and dot all your I's. So guys, thumbs up to Swordist.com. I strongly recommend you check out their website. I'll leave all the appropriate links in the description. And for those that basically stuck around to the very end, if you guys can basically put a blue heart in your comments, so I know experimental wise, I know who stuck around to the end, just for my own experimental purposes. I'd love to just put a blue heart in the comments so I know you stuck around to the very end. And I definitely appreciate you guys watching this video to the end. This was an important one for me, and I appreciate Swordist.com for contributing this sword to my channel. I could not have brought it to you, and I could not have done it without them. Great custom sword from Shadowdancer, my first experience with them, and I gotta tell you, hope it's not my last, because I'm really fond of the build, fond of everything about this sword and everything that's been said about it, or it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It only matters the sword that I have in my hand. I'm very happy with this basically land and sea Shadowdancer sword. So check it out, guys, if you guys are interested. This is Joe from JS Bladecraft. If you like what you've seen here, please don't forget a like, subscribe, and a share. It goes a long way, and I sincerely appreciate it. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs, and I need your help to get there. Thanks to you all. Have a great one, guys, and be good to each other. See you in the next sword and knife video. Ciao.